For those that are just trickling in, welcome to the show. This is the Sales Showdown, brought to you by Panadoc, the debate of the ages, trick or treat edition. Some of us are wearing costumes. Some of us don't need to because we're just such badasses. I want to say thank you to our panelists. I'll introduce them in just a minute. We're going to let everybody just kind of slide into the show here. This is the Sales Showdown, debate of the ages, trick or treat edition, brought to you by Panadoc. A fantastic roundtable, LinkedIn Live. We're going to have some scoring, some points. We're going to be seeing some winners, some losers. We're going to be seeing some tears. We're going to be laughing. We're going to be having a good time and learning a whole lot. I am your host, Travis Tyler. For those of you who are just joining, go ahead in the chat and tell us what's your favorite Halloween candy if you celebrate Halloween. I want to know. I'll start with you, Kat. You probably don't even eat Halloween candy because you are such a health aficionado, but what's your favorite trick or treat?
I do eat candy. Actually, my favorite candy is 100 grand. And a lot of people don't know what that candy bar is, but it's so good.
It's a deep cut. Okay.
It is, yes.
Okay, Rachel, what's your favorite Halloween candy?
Yeah, I mean, I would actually probably fall in the boat of not indulging that much. That said, I do have a soft spot for those Justins, like peanut butter cups.
Yes,
it's like the healthy version of the Reese's buttercups you can get at Whole Foods. Those are my weakness.
Oh man, fancy. Coming out of left field, I like it. I've never tried those, but I'm gonna have to. Tom Boston, I feel like a kindred spirit with you in costume here. What's your favorite Halloween treat?
Well, I like Mawams. Do you know Mawams? They're like we have them in the UK. They're like chewy. I don't know what the version would be in.
Is it like a taffy?
US. Kind of like a taffy. In the UK, you buy a load of sweets and no kids come to your house, so then you just get to eat all the sweets. That's how it goes. We've got a load of these Mawams in, so I'm looking forward to them.
Well, my favorite candy is snow caps. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those. It's my go-to in like a movie theater. It's the stupidest candy. It's a chocolate chip with like hard candy on top of it. It's so simple, but it's just really great for like just piling into your mouth. But Halloween treat, I would have to go with. I was always excited when houses would give away blow pops, which are lollipops with gum in the center when you get to the end of it. Anyway, I digress. Everybody, welcome to the Sales Showdown, Debate of the Ages, Trick or Treat Edition, brought to you by Panadoc. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. I'm your host, Travis Tyler, and today I will be having three of the most forward-thinking minds in sales as they weigh in and debate different topics. Will your mind be tricked by how much you learned today, or will you leave with the treat of gratifying insight? This is the Sales Showdown, Debate of the Ages, Trick or Treat Edition. Let's go through the table of who our panelists are today. I'll start with Kat Levengood, who is our account executive here at Panadoc, and she is a fantastic health coach and the reason I eat almonds in my Greek yogurt. Kat, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Love that, by the way.
Need those saturated fats. All right. Next up, I'm going to introduce Rachel Shih, who is the strategic account executive at Metadata, a fantastic company, by the way. And she's a talented sketch artist who lives in Costa Rica. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me.
And then last but definitely not least is Mr. Tom Boston, the brand awareness manager over from SalesLoft, the host of the No Nonsense Sales podcast, and might I add, has a lovely singing voice. Tom, welcome to the show.
Well, that's very kind, but I'll spare everybody from singing. But thank you. Great to be here.
All right, now that we've introduced our panelists, again, the purpose of this show is we're going to debate a couple of different topics. We're all friends here. We're all winners. There's no losers in this friendly debate, but we want to see and hear from different people of different perspectives of kind of topics in the sales world. So this is the Debate of the Ages Trick or Treat Edition, and our first topic of the day. And by the way, there will be a voting that happens, so make sure if you are streaming this, you vote on who you think had the best take, and we will award points and determine a winner. We have Molly Moss, who organizes these events from PandaDoc. In the background, she'll be tallying those, answering your questions in the chat. And please, in the chat, let us know what your favorite Halloween candies are if you celebrate. And I'll go ahead and start with round 1. All right. So the topic for round 1 is sliding into the LinkedIn DMs. Trick or treat? Kat, I'll start with you. What's your take on sliding into the DMs as a salesperson?
LinkedIn DMs, I say absolutely a treat. I love communicating with people through LinkedIn DMs, not even just for my own sales approach, just connecting with like-minded people. I think that's just a really great segue into networking. And eventually that might become someone that I can work with and it'd be a very fruitful partnership. But overall, I'm a very huge advocate for LinkedIn messaging. It's very personable. A lot of the times it's not always just about selling, which if you're getting an email from someone that you've never spoken with, you can pretty much guarantee that's what it's about. LinkedIn, it's about more than just selling. It's networking. It's so many different things. So I say treat, absolutely.
All right. I like it. Fair enough. Let's go with Rachel Shee. What do you think? Trick or treat on sliding into LinkedIn DMs? Let's hear it.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely with Kat on this one. I think it's a big treat for myself. I will caveat this with context matters. Okay, so if you're one of the 1,000 people in my DMs trying to explore synergies or sell your lead generation services, like that's probably more of the trick side. But if you've got a good reason why, then go for it. I will back this up with an example. So I closed a 50K deal from sliding into someone's LinkedIn DMs. Context here was I worked at this company for 2 weeks. We'll get into that story a little bit later. But it was long enough to be part of this boat party that this company was hosting. And I met all 300 people, who worked at this office. Anyway, fast forward, I went to another company. I'm now 5 years later. I'm at Metadata. And I noticed on one of my accounts, a girl that I met at that boat party at that company was now working at this new target account that I was trying to get into. So keep in mind, I hadn't spoken with her much, like beyond just sort of small talk. But messaged her on LinkedIn, sent her a little video highlighting who I wanted to speak to on her team and the reason why and a couple of opportunities that I identified. And she passed that on. And long story short, I closed that deal a few months later. So again, I think the lesson here is not really so much like the channel, whether LinkedIn's great or not. LinkedIn really just kind of surfaced, the fact that she was there and really kind of find the right way to approach that situation as well, like showing that you've done your research, making her look good as well to the person that she forwarded onto. I think we're key to making that work. So all for LinkedIn DMs.
Also, congratulations in order for closing a 55K deal. Bravo, Rachel. Great example. I love hearing that. I love hearing that you tied in an event you went to, and then years down the road, you're able to close a deal through a LinkedIn DM. Fantastic example. Tom, are you going to agree with our other two panelists that sliding into the DMs is a treat or a trick? What do you say?
I'm not going to agree. I'm going to go against the grain. Is that the phrase? Is that what you go against? You go against something.
It is.
But I'm gonna say trick, because even though I talk a lot about social selling on LinkedIn, and I truly do believe in harnessing the power of LinkedIn to sell, I think sliding into the DMs to sell is probably one of the worst things you can do as a seller, right? Especially if you're all excited just because you've connected with someone. Now it's time to sell them in the DMs. My favorite phrase is, of course, the pitch slap. We've all been pitch slapped and it hurts. I often talk about social selling happening away from social. So just because you've connected with someone, maybe you could send them a DM, but let's not sell in the DMs. Why don't we send them a voice note? Why don't we say hello? Why don't we send them a piece of content and then give them an actual call like they used to do in the good old days, right? And have the conversation there. Yeah. So no to selling in the DMs, but certainly you should use them. So I guess I'm saying trick.
Fair enough. I loved hearing from all three of you. I have personally been sold to many times in the DMs, and it's worked. So that's my take. Not that anyone asked, but I definitely gave away some of PandaDoc's money because somebody slid into my DMs as a marketer. So let's go ahead, Molly, and put this to a vote. let's ask our audience who they think made some of the best points here. And by the way, while we're tallying those votes, I just want to say whoever the winner is from our round table today will have a lunch provided by PandaDoc. We will make sure that we pay for a lunch for you. So that's what you get, okay? And you can use all of that lunch money to spend on Justine's. Is it Justine's or Justin's peanut butter cup?
Justin's, yeah.
Justin's
peanut butter cups.
Let me make sure I get it right. You can get it all. And then on Tom's Wham Bam Laffy Taffy.
That was it. Yeah.
Okay, nailed it. Oh, fantastic. And then Molly, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say who is voting on that, but we'll get to the tallied votes at the end. I want to encourage everyone to vote if you're not voting. I see about, let's say, 60 of you in here. I want to see some voting happening. Let's go into round 2. I want to ask and start in reverse order. Tom, a recent ruling in Canada mandates that a thumbs up emoji legally signs a contract. Emojis and contracts, trick or treat?
Yeah, I've been struggling with this one a little bit because it feels quite scary, right? And when you told me about that ruling, there was something unnerving. Emojis have been around for a while, but they're certainly creeping into our daily life. I mean, in sales, I'm a definite treat for emojis. I love, caveating a LinkedIn post with an emoji. I quite like an emoji in a sales email subject headline. I know that might be controversial, right? Because that can be a pet hate. But why not have them in contracts, right? Hey, could you sign here? LOL, and then a nice emoji. Keep it light.
Fair enough. I'm going to start to see Gen Z proposals with like references I don't get, making fun of millennials for being lame. That's the slippery slope, Tom. Rachel, what about you? Trick or treat on emojis in sales?
Yeah, look, I'm going to go against Tom here and say it's a trick. And the reason is we're still mostly working with boomers when it comes to the decision makers in our deals, at least in my world in tech sales, right? So it's dangerous territory. We've all seen how boomers like to sending a thumbs up to like whatever, like we've all texted with our parents or aunts or like whatever, and completely out of context, right? So I think adding a contractual obligation to that tendency is a little bit scary. We don't want to piss them off. So I'm going with a firm trick here.
Fair enough. I love it. I'm going to try to find a thumbs up emoji and just put a bunch of them in the chat for you, and play my boomer role here. Kat, what say you? Emojis in sales, yay, nay, trick, treat?
I'll say trick as well. I'm just thinking, to your point, who are we working with? Myself, I've accidentally sent many emojis that mean various things that I don't mean them to. So having that signify if I'm signing a contract, I just envision a lot of commissions being revoked because that's not what was intended, which is nothing that salespeople want to deal with. So we'll stick with signing on the dotted line. How about
that? or e-signing on the dotted line. Yeah. Brought to you by PandaDoc. Thank you so much for that quick plug. All right. Let's go ahead, Molly, and let's run the votes again. While we're waiting for the votes to be tallied in, and again, we'll tally them all at the end to see who the winner is, or if we're all winners today. I am dressed up today as a red panda. For those of you who aren't aware, that is very different from the giant panda. Fun fact about red pandas, they will spend about 2/3 of their day sleeping, and that can be up to 17 hours. That's a lot of missed opportunities for cold LinkedIn DMs, lots of missed opportunities for using emojis. And then another fun fact while we're waiting for votes is that red pandas, while usually quiet creatures, make a variety of sounds, including squeals, grunts, hisses, and even a quack. So there you go. Okay, let's go into our last. You guys are like, what are we doing here? Round 3. This will be one of the final rounds. In the age of automation and AI, will traditional sales roles become obsolete? Everybody loves talking about this. So why can't we talk about it on our Trick or Treat LinkedIn Live here, a debate of the ages? I'm going to start with Rachel. In the age of automation and AI, will traditional sales roles become obsolete? What say you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think assigning this to a trick or a treat is a little bit difficult. It's more of an open-ended question, but I do have a point of view on this. And I don't think that AI is going to replace sales teams, but I do think AI-powered sales teams are going to replace sales teams. It's like thinking about, a salesperson who still needs to see their prospects like face-to-face versus salespeople like us who have a laptop, has an internet, and thinking about, how much more productive we can be with that, So I think we're only just first seeing like the first wave of it now, and there's going to be like kinks and like learning curves and terrible emails that are being blasted out. Not that they weren't already kind of with sort of sales engagement tools and whatnot, but it's only going to accelerate. It's going to get better. And I think the onus is really on us to kind of build the skill set out and be prepared for the future, right? I think also equally as importantly, thinking about the other side of the coin is how AI is going to change the buyer's journey, right? And how sellers are going to adapt to that. It's not only just like, us using AI, but buyers are going to be using AI to do their research, sort of like their perceptions are going to be influenced by AI. So, it's thinking about, well, what's going to be unreplaceable in that realm. And it's things like trust, it's things like human relationships, which I think are only going to be becoming more of a premium. So, really just sort of understanding that if we're going to be buyer centric, if we're really understanding that, we have less and less of a buyer's time to influence and sort of help achieve an outcome, understanding that I think is actually more important in terms of like how we're going to be better as sellers in sort of this AI powered future. So that's kind of my take on the.
I love the take. I actually have a great example of this. I was trying to sell somebody to come onto the Panadoc podcast, and they politely declined. And my Gmail app had a suggested artificial intelligence response, and I used it in my response, and it was just one word: bummer. Period. And I sent that. Hey, they're lost for not coming on my show. But yes, let's move on to you, Kat. What say you? It's hard to quantify and put into either trick or treat, but in the age of automation and AI, do you think traditional sales roles will become obsolete?
I do not. I'm kind of with Rachel. I think it's a gray area. Do I believe we should totally ignore it? I think it is the way of the future, so you got to lean into it to some degree. But at the same time, it's a tool in the toolkit, not necessarily the entire thing. So just like a chef, like I compare sales and it's both an art and a science in terms of the craft. And you can have this new knife, this new thing that's going to come in and make your life easier in that regard to help craft the perfect dish. But it's only a component of it, right? I'm a firm believer that sales will always be a relationship-based role, and you have to lean into that, and you have to. That's what's going to get deals done. That's what's going to make you successful. So completely automating things with AI and knowing what to leverage AI for and what to not. So for me in particular, I know AI is making its wave in all of the sales processes. And while I'm an advocate for AI when it comes to something like contracts a little bit, how can I make this have a little bit more legal jargon to it? Because I'm not a legal person, right? I've definitely leveraged that in PandaDoc before. But when it comes to outreach of things, we're in this very weird phase where emails aren't really working too much. Cold calling, we really have to change our methodology and our strategy around it. And for me, I personally feel that if I am crafting an email, even if it's to somebody I've never spoken with, they can likely tell the difference between something that was crafted by AI and versus something that was crafted by a human, just simply by getting that delivery. I feel like I can tell the difference, and I would want to make sure that whoever I'm trying to develop a relationship with also feels that. So in short, I think it's absolutely a great tool to leverage, but you got to understand the balance of it.
It can be a trick,
right?
Or it can be a treat, if you will. Well said, Kat. I can definitely tell when somebody uses AI to reach out to me. And my biggest pet peeve is when I see a LinkedIn comment. I'm like, you used AI to write a LinkedIn comment? And it's a big block of text that sounds super formal, and it usually has a poorly used emoji. Okay, Tom, let's round it out with you. In the age of automation and AI, will traditional sales roles become obsolete? And I know SalesLoft has some cool AI tools. Let's hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with Kat, right? This kind of human interaction, that's never gonna go anywhere. And I've heard crazy things like we'll have no salespeople in the future, right? They're all gonna be replaced. You mentioned SalesLoft there. We've put AI right at the heart of the platform. And I was very pleased that it wasn't Gen AI that's gonna write your email for you, or like you said, give you a block of text that is clearly written by a robot. It's actually steps that sellers should take based on buyer interactions, and it's harnessing the power of AI to do that. That's where I see the future of AI, right? Not writing things for us, actually helping sellers be human. I'll tell you this story. I went into McDonald's. Have you ever been into McDonald's recently? It's all changed, right? There's no people there. It's all machines. It's horrible, right? You type it on a screen, and then a
Yeah.
miserable person just kind of throws some food at you. When
Yeah.
you have a different experience in a restaurant where someone looks you in the eye and maybe asks you how your day is and tells you a story and you connect, right? That's the meal that you that you enjoy. And it's because as humans, we love to connect. So I believe the future is salespeople being humans, but harnessing the power of the AI to guide them and to help them, right? Using it for good.
Well said. Also, I now want a McCrispy for some reason, and I don't know why. I was in a McDonald's recently, and that is exactly, it is like you order on a touch screen and a miserable person does throw food at you. And I felt so
Me
awful,
too.
but it tasted
It's
pretty
good.
good.
Yeah, it was tasty.
We're going to open up voting again. Please vote for who you think made some of the best points today. And if not, we're all winners. And you know what? We might have lunch for all three of you. Maybe I'll even get my own lunch. A boy can dream. I want to say just a few things on AI. I was a Luddite when it came to marketing and AI. And for those who are unfamiliar with that term, that's somebody who is refusing to adopt any new technology and sees it as scary and alienating. And I think all three of you did touch on it's here whether you like it or not. And there are ways to use it to your advantage, but that it can be a trick as well. So well said to all of you. I want to also just, let's see, maybe throw in an alternate. Oh, somebody is really voting for you, Tom. We have somebody here. I'll just go ahead and highlight. They just said Tom, exclamation point.
Love that.
Wow. Enough said. I also wanted to highlight Laura made a really great point here where she said that sales is a social art as well. I think, Tom, you were kind of talking about this of somebody comes up to you and asks you how your day was, greets you with a smile. There is a social aspect to this that I think is not talked about enough. We've got fans of both Rachel and Kat. Sorry, Tom, but Laura's going to be casting her vote there. I want to ask one more question, which is, should sales professionals focus more on relationship building or aggressive selling tactics? Sales is a numbers game, and you have quotas to hit. How do you try to strike a balance here of spending time on relationships versus making sure that you're meeting your quota? Kat, I see you nodding. I'm going to start with you on this one. How do you balance that?
Yeah, that's actually always something that I've not necessarily struggled with, but it's been a battle in any sales role just because my approach to selling is very consultative and helpful. And while there is always this looming sales quota above your head, I would rather try and figure out another direction where I can make up for that versus pushing someone into selling against their timeline, against their budget. I will always be that way. And it just felt right in the beginning. And now that I've been in sales for so long, those relationships always come back when the timing is right. So I'm a firm believer in give out what you want to come back in and everything will work out. It is very hard though, when you do have leadership, managers, numbers, right? We go off conversion rates, and we are trying to do this very personal selling piece and develop relationships, and then putting a tangible number to it. It is very hard to make sure that you're not letting those one kind of override the other, but just do what feels right. That's kind of how I go about it. If it doesn't feel right pushing, don't push. I think there is some push needed for certain instances that can help get a deal done, but definitely look inward, be in tune to know what's too much.
I think that's well said, Kat. I've had this conversation before, but some of the best purchases I've ever made, I needed a salesperson to give me the confidence to make the decision. And like, I was leery, I was scared, right? But their pushing gave me the confidence to go through to the finish line. I can think of big purchases, especially buying a home, buying a car. These are things that I was nervous about. And so I think you make an excellent point there. Rachel, what about you? Relationship building, do you ever feel like, this is a waste of my time, this is going nowhere? Or I've got numbers to hit. Are you a yes or are you a no? Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I think the question is, it's like almost a bit of a false dichotomy, is how I'm thinking about it. And if anyone's in sales, like I think you can kind of relate in that, aggressive sales tactics without trust like are never going to work, right? And I think the word aggressive is also kind of a little bit loaded. We've all been in a position where where we're being hounded by some kind of a seller trying to close a deal. Like it's not pleasant. It's more likely to turn you off and just make you go in a different direction. So like the word relationship, I think, is also like it should be replaced by trust, right? You don't need a relationship with anyone who's trying to sell you. I don't need a relationship with my realtor, for instance, to really to close on a house that I want, right? I just need to trust him. I need to trust that he's acting in my best interests, and it's the same for us as AEs in tech. So I think that's probably the word that I would focus on. Continue, like do well at building trust with your buyers, and also focus on like getting to the truth of things too, right? Like you can build a relationship, like great, whatever, but if that person's not ever going to buy, or they're not in a position to buy, they are not your ICP, like what's the point of continuing that? So I think it's just this balance of like building trust and also being good at your job, being competent at understanding what makes a good buyer, and if it is, continue to get to a point where you can sort of drive that outcome. So bit of a roundabout way to answer your question, but that's how I think.
I love it. No. And again, I wrote this question, and you can tell a marketer wrote it because it made no sense and was like, it was a trap. I think one of the things I really related to there was I've been on demos before where I could sense the salesperson was like, I'm building relationship here. And I was just annoyed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like how's the weather? Like what school you? I don't care. And I've been told too as well, like from like people demoing, sales tech tools with being part of evaluations. You just want them to get to the point. You want them to, be good at their job. And that doesn't have to mean building this fake relationship when the incentives are not aligned. So.
Yeah, I know you're just getting a commission out of this. Let's be honest. Let's put everything on the table. I love that you highlighted trust and competency. Tom, anything you want to add here on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, when I hear that numbers game, I always think about my first role in B2B sales where I sold gas and electricity, and it was 100 dials a day. And if you didn't have a certain amount of talk time on the phone, you were out the door. And I mean, that day, you'd go to work the next day and you'd be like, where's Dave? He doesn't work here anymore, because he didn't hit those numbers. Like, did I sell in that role? Absolutely. Right. Did I leave with a headache? Of course I did. It was also the worst job I'd ever had, but it does work if you've got that transactional product or service and you don't mind just heads down. I think the best way is to find a company that are going to allow you to try different things, right? So rather than look at your metrics and your KPIs and how many calls have you made, actually, let's try for the next couple of months leaning into social. How do you do with video selling, right? Maybe we run a sales campaign around gifts, something like that, right? And allow the seller to find what works for them and get into their rhythm, rather than saying you have to do XYZ or you're out, like Dave.
Poor Dave.
Never saw him again. Yeah.
Well, everybody, it was small margins. If you're wondering who won today, it was all of you. All three of you are winners. I can't pick a winner. Nobody here picked a winner. You all get lunch on Panda Doc. Thank you so much, Kat, Rachel, Tom. Thank you for joining us today. We hope this was valuable for you guys. And yeah, with that said, this has been the Sales Showdown Debate of the Ages Trick or Treat edition, brought to you by Panda Doc. And I'm going to go ahead and dream about eating my McCrispy covered in snow caps, taffy, and peanut butter cups. And then I'm going to go get sick. Thank you all for joining. Appreciate you. And that'll be it for today.